As human beings bound by time, our understanding of ideas develops in a linear fashion. A concept situated at the terminus of the linear development of an idea suggests that it is the current apex of that idea. The four face cards, known as the court, appear at the end of their respective suits. Human courts, whether feudal or legal, and whether rightly or wrongly, are considered arbitrating bodies. To arbitrate means to make a final decision. Courts render a final decision that is the terminus of an idea that has made its way to them. Thus, the positioning of the tarot court at the terminus of 10 linear and related ideas within a given suit represents the culmination of that suit. The court itself is a linear progression of page, knight, queen, king. Thus the king, positioned at the end of the court, is the culmination of the court itself. From my perspective, the kingly culmination of the court, which is itself the culmination of the suit, is not the apex or zenith of an idea. The zenith of an idea is the ideal, and I do not consider the king to be the ideal. Instead, I consider the king to be the bumbling and pathetic stagnation of the idea. The king is where the tarot suit goes to die. As in history, the king is the judge, jury, and executioner of the potential of the suit. So, rather than continue to wallow in the wading pool of negativity that I myself have secreted in the first two videos on this channel, I thought I'd take a moment to sketch over my own ideations towards understanding and working with the suits. None of it is particularly innovative, but my hope is that it might be at least vaguely interesting and potentially useful to others. Depending on your approach and level of engagement and interest, or desire for a degree of accuracy and consistency that simply does not exist because it is all made up like everything else, learning tarot can be very hard work and can take a great deal of time. I only tarot for myself, I've not been at it for long, and I came to it via a fairly circuitous ambulation. But I have learned, or at least been aware of, other things in my life, and I know the paths I'd like to take to develop whatever level of knowledge I end up possessing about the subject in question. What's great about tarot and esotericism in general is that where paths and boundaries exist at all, they are fuzzy and the signposts can be ignored or even kicked over. A person's journey through tarot lets them start wherever they choose, carry whatever luggage and equipment they like, take any route they desire, and stop and explore whenever they care to. Tarot is yours, not anybody else's. Of course, like anything human, tarot is full of gatekeepers, gaslighters, sciolists, dilettantes, bullies, and cunts, but so what? It gives people something to do, even if it is just collecting things that they find beautiful and bring them joy. For tarot decks I acquire that end up displeasing me for whatever reason, I do not consider them universally worthless and destroy them utterly, even though I could. I just move them on. Like fostering an animal in need, but being unable, for whatever reason, to provide them with the loving forever home they deserve, I have been the temporary custodian of another's joy. This video is also a way for me to say goodbye to a number of decks that I have been the temporary custodian of. Perhaps they will become another's joy. My understanding of the four suits of the Smith-Waite Tarot, to me the Platonic Tarot, is the same as anybody else's. Wands are the suit of fire and represent actions. Coins are the suit of earth and represent materials. Cups are the suit of water and represent emotions. Swords are the suit of air and represent ideas. In my decks, I arrange the suits in the manner I choose, which is in the accepted order of the cardinal directions: north, south, east, and west. These I attribute to what I consider to be the energies of those cardinal directions. As I am located on the eastern coast of Australia, I consider that fire, in the form of the sun, is above and thus north. I consider that earth is south or below, where the earth is, because duh. I consider that water is to the east, where all the fucking water is. And I consider that the spirit of the air is to the west, where the wind from the ocean accumulates against the great dividing range, before heaving itself over the top and into the interior. Wands, coins, cups, swords. Fire, earth, water, air. Corresponding with north, south, east, and west. This order helps me verify that a deck is mine, and that I have, at the very least, sorted through it before adding it to my collection. I think I've only encountered one deck fresh out of the box that was manufactured in this order. No matter, this organisation means that the King of Swords is the final card in my decks, and represents the termination of the ideas contained within any given deck. In my mind and in my practice, the linear order of the ideas represented by the suits is Ace, Page, Knight, 2 through 10, Queen, King. On screen you'll have noticed I am only showing the aces and the courts. This is because my table is not big enough and I do not have a wide-angle lens. The ace, of course, represents the element or idea or thing itself. It is the thing's first manifestation into the reality of the tarot deck in question. The Ace of Wands is the prima machina, essentially the first engine. It is the very first minor card in my tarot deck, and acts as the prime mover for everything that follows. The Ace of Pentacles is the prima materia, the first material. The first action the first human ever took was to interact with something other than itself, which was a component of the material world around it. The Ace of Cups is prima sentire, the first feeling or perception. A baby is born, its fingers instinctively take the action of wrapping around the material of the mother's finger, and the baby feels it. The Ace of Swords, then, is prima cognito, the first thought. Having taken an instinctive action, encountered physical matter, and sensed that matter, the baby's brain now cogitates over the experience. The tarot is exactly that, a way for us to cogitate through our human experiences. Thus, the first human interaction with a thing is represented by the page. They are the first human to encounter it, engage with it, examine it, experiment with it. The page represents humanity's first learning of the thing. The knight is the first to wield it. The page having gathered the intelligence and recognized value and utility in the thing, the knight now puts it to use in its most obvious, reductive way. The knight represents humanity's first activation of the thing. Two through 10 broadly represent every possible human experience of, or with, or informed by, or with the aid of, or in the shadow of the thing. The Queen, the face of wisdom, the next step in the linear progression of the idea of the thing, embodies humanity's complete knowledge of and experience with the thing. If we think of page, knight, and 2 through 10 as cumulative, then here is where they cumulate. The Queen provides no new experiences, but all experience and knowledge is distilled into them. I see the Queen as the infinite and infinitely expanding representation of all understanding and potential. They are the totality of all cogitations. The wise Queen also has the power and authority to point back through her suit, all the way to the prima, and instruct you to try again. Take a different approach. Learn different lessons. Have another go. The king is therefore the terminus of the idea. If the Queen is infinite, the king cannot be more infinite. Every human experience eventually ends, and the king is the final member of the court and of the suit. The king is inherently a limiter and terminates infinity. Whatever potential the Queen embodied, and whatever encouragement or sage advice they provided, the king, as the final arbiter, puts up their hand and says, "No more." And that's why I say the king is where the tarot suit goes to die. The King of Wands, then, is cessare machina, and puts an end to action, ambition, and initiative. As a trite example, whenever I pull a wand as my card of the day, and the day happens to be a gym day, it means I'm going to give careful consideration to my barbell work that day. Am I going to do a bigger compound movement, like a deadlift, or something easier, like a bench press? Am I going to be doing more reps or fewer, heavier weight or lighter? If it's the Queen of Wands, it means go hard and damn the consequences. If it's the King of Wands, it means a lot of rolling around on the floor, doing active recovery, and fucking about on my phone. The Wand King is the king of stagnation, and the other kings heed this lesson. The King of Pentacles, Cessare Materia, is a billionaire, a wealth hoarder, a devourer, a cancer. As an animist, I consider that everything has spirit, but the Pentacle King does not. This is where the possibility of a better world goes to die. You and I, presumably normal humans, are competing with this king for resources. The King of Pentacles will consume everything with a world-ending maw. They will swallow your mouth as it screams for mercy. Tarotists who like to mod their decks should look upon the King of Pentacles and remember what guillotines were made for. The King of Cups is Cesare Sentire. This is where your instinctive imagination and original sensing and emotive spirit, things you were born with, things that, in childhood, let you have conversations with your favourite toy or recognise the family pet as your equal, are broken. It is the suffocation of your soul by capitalism, politics, organised religion, and hate, all of which are synonymous. As Diane de Prima writes in her poem Rant, "The only war that matters is the war against the imagination. All other wars are subsumed in it." The Cup King is where that war is lost, and imagination is not the victor. The King of Swords, finally, Cesare Cognito, is where it all ends. They are the conclusion of their suit, and their suit is the conclusion of the deck. All of our ideas about tarot, life, the universe, everything, cease here. All ideas about action, matter, emotion, even ideas about ideas themselves, die by the action of the Sword King. It is the end of the human experience embodied in the tarot. There is hope, however. The final action of the King of Swords is action itself. As we know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. If the action annihilates action, the only possible remaining reaction is the resurrection of action. When the King of Swords appears, the universe reshuffles. I thought this might be a nice little send-off for a number of decks that I've not had any success with or felt any connection to, or honestly that I just can't stand the sight of. I try to give every deck at least a week of work before making a decision, but really, like with books, it never takes more than a few pages before you know if it's worth pursuing or not. I'm at a point with tarot decks where I can pretty easily tell, after first sorting through, if I want to put the effort in. But I still recognize that somebody put the effort in to the creation of the deck. I have to assume they created it in good faith, and that it is a representation of their experiences and therefore their spirit, and of course their craft. And I think that if I am going to decide to engage with it in the first place, I should also disengage with it in an honourable fashion.